What's up, core reporters? Welcome back to my channel. Listen, not Ariana, but Raquel Leviss from the Vanderpump Rules hit show from Bravo TV hopped up onto Bethenny Frankel's podcast. And my goodness, did she ever blow the lid on her former relationship with Ariana Madix and Ariana's former relationship with her own longtime boyfriend, Tom Sandoval. In fact, Rachel, I have to call her that because that's the name that she's assuming these days. She quite literally says, and I'm going to play the clip for you in a minute now. She quite literally says that she never would have had that affair with Tom Sandoval if his relationship with Ariana was real. So she's just like, you know what? Load the clip, empty the clip. I'm done. I am not keeping secrets anymore. I am calling out each and every single one of you. You have allowed me to take all the hits this whole time, and now I'm over it. I'm over it. I went to treatment. She says that she went to a treatment center in order to, get to the root of her behavior, of why she goes for unavailable men. Though I do have to ask you guys, why is she saying that she has a pattern of going for unavailable men? Because as far as I was aware, the only unavailable man that we've ever really seen her attached to is Tom Sandoval, right? And not only that, but in this podcast with Bethenny Frankel, she quite literally says that she's only really ever had 3 relationships in her life. She had this one non-committal boyfriend in college. Then she met James, and we all know they got engaged and everything. And then she got with Tom Sandoval. So to me, I'm like, okay, well, maybe she's talking about that non-committal guy. But I feel like I don't think that's a huge deal. Doesn't that happen to everybody? Men and women, sometimes you just you start dating with somebody and it just doesn't turn into something really concrete, and that's normal. But I digress. Maybe that's the problem. It's too normalized. So anyway, she got down to the root of that, and now she wants to make better decisions moving forward. And she also says that she feels quite guilty for the amount of emotional anguish that her family has gone through as a result of her affair. So obviously the whole world, right, wanted to watch Raquel burn at the stake for being Tom Sandoval's mistress. And so she had to go into hiding. Her family had been trying to advise her for a long time through this. And obviously it was very painful for her parents, especially, to watch her be so despised by the world. And that is what she feels guilty about, So I can only imagine what they felt. I can't, I'm trying to picture, because I have a sister. I'm trying to picture the whole world hating her and how I'd feel. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm crying too. How do they hate her, So now, on the subject of the whole world hating Raquel, she says that the only friends that she's got left are her childhood friends, which is quite interesting to me because I don't remember ever really seeing her childhood friends on the show. A lot of these people will show their childhood friends when they go through big kind of life events, or birthdays, engagements, this, that, and the other. But I don't remember seeing any of Raquel's own real friends in the show. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's been a while now. Now, one thing I did want to point out was that during this interview, Raquel claimed that James was a man that she thought she was going to marry. And I found that to be quite interesting because if you recall, at the very end of part 3 of the Vanderpump Rules reunion, when she confesses to Andy Cohen the real timeline of her affair with Tom Sandoval, she claims that the reason why she started sleeping with Tom Sandoval is because she, and I quote, wanted to know what it would feel like to have sex with someone that she was in love with. So I'm like, well, if you were never in love with James, why'd you get engaged to him? Why'd you move in with him? And why are you now saying that he's the man you thought you were going to marry? Why did you want to marry a man that you weren't in love with? It just, I feel like she still has a lot of deceptive characteristics, to be quite honest with you. I'm not taking what she's saying at face value here. And before I continue on, I just want to say I do feel bad for her that she has been kind of lured into Bethenny's web and her trap. So Bethenny right now is engaged in a war with Bravo. And I think it's all just bitter ego based. I don't think she genuinely cares about these women that she's claiming to want to save. I think the reason why Bethenny is feuding with Bravo is, I I don't know. It's a little bit complicated. I really think it just comes down to ego. Maybe because the new reboot of Roni is doing so well. I heard she might have been snubbed in Sex and the Cities and Just Like That spinoff where Andy Cohen appeared. I heard perhaps Andy Cohen made a comment that she didn't like. Like, there's so many possibilities here, and not to mention she's just so fake. I really can't stand this woman, and I hate that I even listened to this podcast with that voice of hers that goes right through my bones. But one thing about Bethenny is she's now been exposed for trying to pitch yet another show to Bravo just a couple of months before she suddenly decided that they were super exploitative. Where was this exploitative talk when she had like, what, 3-4 failed spinoffs with a network? Please. Anyway, so Bethenny, I think, is the reason why Raquel is holding out on signing up for the 11th season of Vanderpump Rules, because now we get into the section where Bethenny starts telling her, like, you've been exploited. Now all of these like really harsh, like, this harsh footage of you being judged and just like, ripped to shreds and whatnot is going to live on forever. It's going to permanently affect your reputation in your life. And you don't get compensated extra for that. So Bethenny, she's feigning concern for Raquel in this sort of like, context. And so Raquel says, yeah, it is unfair that like all of this has happened. And I didn't get paid for that. I'm like, girl, you got paid to appear on the show. You know the drill. You've been on the show for several years. I'm sure you've got a legal team. So you understand that when you sign a reality contract, residuals are not a part of the thing. You know what I mean? No one told you to go have this affair, get yourself hated, but you decided to do it. And it's like, well, all the more for the network that you signed up with, right? So I feel bad for her because she really thinks, and we all know she's not very smart. She really thinks that Bethenny is looking out for her personally, and that Bethenny is going to like genuinely care about her when all is said and done. When at the end of the day, this is all just a chess game for Bethenny against the Bravo television network. And it's ironic because I'm pretty sure Bethenny is exploiting Raquel too. Like, obviously this podcast episode is going to be one of Bethenny's highest listened to. She's finally breaking the triple digits of listeners, I'm assuming. And there were a lot of advertisements through the podcast, right? So I wonder, Bethenny, did you pay Raquel for this interview? Rhetorical question, but I'm just saying, right? Now, Raquel, she claims that she and Ariana were never actually best friends and that they were just acquaintances who met through the show and became friends, just friends, okay? So at least she kind of leveled Ariana up from an acquaintance to a friend. And then she says that like she never had any deep conversations with Ariana that you would have with a best friend, which really shocked me because I would see them together all the time on social media. So I genuinely thought like they had a best friend relationship. And I think that Ariana genuinely thought that Raquel was a best friend of hers. So that must have been double devastating, right? To have your best friend, or who you thought was your best friend, get with your man behind your back. And now she's out here publicly claiming like that you weren't even best friends. Like, that's gotta really hurt. And she does admit though that Scheana was one of her best friends. And so Scheana told a story on her podcast about how she had let Raquel stay in one of her apartments, and Raquel just was really nasty. She like took all the toilet paper, used it up, didn't leave any new ones. She left like expired food in the fridge. Like, she was just like really filthy as a guest. Apparently she didn't even like know how to do her own laundry, like just a bunch of like stuff. And so Raquel says that it's not true. Scheana was exaggerating. She also claims that she was not staying there for free, unlike Sheena's claim. She says that she was paying rent. And she's like, Scheana acted like I was a total freeloader off of her, which is not even the slightest bit true. Like, I have helped her out. Like, for example, her cat had mercury. I don't know if it was mercury poisoning or a high level of mercury while Scheana was breastfeeding after having her daughter. And Raquel says that she like looked after the cat for Scheana because Scheana couldn't be around the cat. And then she talks about like how she made Scheana money on her podcast. Like, after her breakup with James, like she went on Sheena's podcast and talked about it. And that had been, up until now, Sheena's highest listened to podcast episode, which obviously amounts to revenue, right? So she's like, I've been helping that girl out too. So let's stop it here, right? Now, another thing on the topic of her relationship with Ariana, Raquel, I'm sorry, I keep calling her Raquel. Rachel says that she and Ariana never actually hung out off camera unless it was in group settings, and that she mainly hung out with Tom Sandoval. And I'm like, Is that like true from what you guys have seen? Because again, I feel like I had seen them like spending a lot of time together off camera. So I have a really hard time believing this. I don't know. I don't know if she's a truthful girl, to be honest with you. And so now, la pièce de résistance. You know how I told you guys at the very beginning how Raquel said that she never would have had this affair with Tom Sandoval if she felt as though Tom Sandoval and Ariana were in a solid relationship. Let's take a listen to it, right? Let's go. Let me turn up the volume real quick first.
So how much do you think their relationship is real, Tom and Ariana?
Honestly, I don't know. I know. I would not be involved in this affair, secrecy type of situation if I thought that there was longevity in this relationship between Tom and Ariana.
So there you go. She's like, I just did not see any longevity in that relationship. And that's the reason why I decided to insert my coochie in the middle of it. And not only that, but she goes on to pretty much accuse the two of them of running a sham relationship in order to make money off of their fans. Let's take a listen to that part now.
The people closest to them could see that their relationship hasn't been what they portray on camera. And Tom always told me, like, they're a brand, they're an image. They work together to make brand deals, and they are business partners.
Are they business partners? Literally, or just, you mean in the show, being like a duo on the show?
They're a duo on the show, and they utilize that for the success of their brand or image.
Got it. And
so there you go, you guys. She said that relationship is fake as a $3 bill, as my name being Raquel. And they just were running that sham in order to continue making money together. And that is the reason why I decided to start sleeping with Tom Sandoval. Wow. And then a little bit later on into the podcast, Raquel confirms that they are living together. And this is where, I'm sorry, y'all, but she kind of ate here because she goes, yeah, like, I offered Tom Sandoval the keys to my apartment while I was away for treatment. And we know she spent like 2 months in treatment. So he could have been like, free in his own place. But he refused to. And I'm not really surprised because it's like, and she didn't say it in these exact terms, but this is what she meant. They've kind of been like living like roommates for like years now anyway. So it doesn't surprise me that they're still living together. I'm sorry, but I think she's right. Like I've been saying this in like older kind of recaps of VPR that I used to do. But Tom and Ariana, that relationship, I had not been seeing like true, like in love for a long time between the two of them. So I think Raquel is right here. When she says that they've kind of been just like, existing in the same house, like for years now at this point. So that's why it's not as difficult as you would imagine it being. But I still am quite shocked because the rage that Ariana had during their reunion, you would think that this was a true, like, passion, so whatever. And speaking of Ariana's rage towards not only Raquel, but Tom, Bethenny starts talking about that. And Raquel says that the way in which Ariana spoke to her at the reunion was completely unacceptable. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but play stupid games, win stupid prizes. When you do things like this, you can really push people to the edge of doing and saying some real effed up things, like, don't they call these things crimes of passion? Whenever you watch those shows like Snapped or whatever, you're like, oh my God, this is crazy. But then there is a special category for this because, emotions and love and passion and stuff, they're such powerful emotions. So when you get all wrapped up in the middle of like, a couple of several years, don't expect for people to care about your feelings when they are telling you off. Right. And then she gets into how Ariana has been able to make a lot of money off of brand deals. Meanwhile, she's out in hiding, fearing for her life and whatnot. I just added that last part for drama. She didn't say anything but out in hiding, fearing for her life. She kind of seems upset by the way in which Ariana has been able to make a lot of money from the situation. And she talks about how like everybody on that show has been involved in an affair, which is true, including Ariana. Ariana ultimately wound up losing Tom exactly how she got him. Remember that, right? So yeah, that's it. Then towards the end, she talks about Tom Sandoval recording that video of her spanking her cooch for him on camera. They were doing some phone X together, and he recorded it without her permission. And that's how Ariana ultimately wound up finding out about their affair. And so she's like, Ariana sent it to me. And then she's like, you're dead to me. And so that's how she knew that Ariana knew. But she suspects Ariana of spreading that video to multiple people because she says that several of Ariana's friends have described to her what was shown, like what she was doing in the video, like in great detail. So I don't know. Is she going to pursue criminal charges against Ariana for that? Not sure. Bethenny didn't dig into that. Perhaps she will in part 2 because this is only part 1 of the interview. But I don't know. I'm quite curious about that. Maybe she will. At this point, she's got nothing to lose, right? Go ahead, and she's within reason. If someone is distributing those sorts of videos featuring you, that it's illegal at the end of the day, right? So if you want to pursue legal action, civil action, or whatever it might be, go ahead and do that, So yeah. That's it. Oh, Lord. I was not expecting her to go in on Tom and Ariana's relationship like that. But again, I think she's kind of right. But at the end of the day, I still don't think it's fair to be having an affair with anybody. Even if you don't see the longevity in their relationship, it's not for you to judge. The fact that they're in a relationship should be enough for you to want to stay away from them normally, right? But I digress. Maybe that's a foreign concept to some people. Let me know what you think about what it is that Raquel had to say on Bethenny Frankel's podcast. Leave all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.